What's up? I'm back. It's going to be a short segment where discuss a little bit about what happened in Ferguson. I don't think anyone was shocked at the result, at the verdict. I think in some ways it's sad, but it's sad because I don't really think people understand the problem. And I'm not someone who professes to know everything. I could just look at the problem from my angle, right? But the problem is the system. And you would hear people say that. So that's obvious, right? But here's the thing. The system is a machine at this point. It's a machine. If you look at the stock market, if you look at even the whole NSA stuff, it's a machine now that gets code words, like could be this video. You say a word, flags the conversation, and it gets recorded. A human wrote the program, but the machine is actually operating it now. So when you look at it from that angle, it's actually worse because you can't really reason like with a machine. To be honest, you can't reason with a machine. And if you get emotional with a machine, you will not understand the machine. I don't think people understand how this game works, how it's been working for a long time. We live in a capitalist system. Even saying capitalist is kind of hard. You know why? Because the machine, the system, wants you to respond to a concept, an idea, situations, and it analyzes information about you. So it can tell a lot by your race, your astrological date you were born, how much money you make a year, how much social websites you go to, what books you order from Amazon. It calculates all those things, and then it assesses you as an individual and how to engage you or your community. So even with Ferguson, they expect two reactions, especially from the black community. Either you don't care, right? So you might be on some space cadet stuff where you say this doesn't matter. It's only about the internal. Doesn't really matter about the external. You get that crowd, right? Then you got the other ones who are burning down their own neighborhoods, basically. Those two reactions. You have a third, you have others, but those are the two major reactions. I mean, you have a third, you might have people who might actually defend the cops, but at this point, they kind of expect most black folks or African Americans not to do that at this point, right? But what does that really mean? Well, even if you get angry, even if you go on social media, talk about how much you hate America, burn American flags. You could be in Howard University, you take the American flag down, put a Black Power flag up, all those type of things. Even discussing economic boycotts, you're gonna hurt them where their pockets are. Let me tell you a little something about how the system works. Economic boycotts, the way you're saying to do it, never works in the sense that it does work, but it's short term. A true economic boycott only works when the individual knows that you could take your money elsewhere. That's real talk. That's the bottom line. If I decide to stay in my house for 7 days and I say it's going to crumble, the system's going to crumble because of that, if the machine knows I will not go somewhere else, that is not giving the machine any motivation to change, to be honest. It will only work if the numbers are going to another computer. And even that's limited because all the computers are not integrated as one. So even when you do that, it's not going to be the same as it was when Marcus Garvey said, let's go back to Africa. Those days are over. So we're in a globalized world. I think that's the part of the problem people don't realize. There are no more countries. It's just pieces of lines that each corporation controls. So when you understand it like that, it's big business for them to get you racially upset. It's big business. The police are militarized, meaning you see police with tanks now. So they need to use that on someone, to be honest. And from their data, they have assessed that in a way, in America, black life doesn't mean as much to the mainstream American society. So when they want to test something, you are the beta subject. You're gonna be the first person they test. They will use the machine against they will use those tanks against anyone else eventually, but they use it against you first. So when you respond a certain way, they expect that. Even if you respond by trying to ignore it, they expect that too. If you say let's do economic boycott, they expect it. They don't expect you to do it because it will hurt their pockets to some extent. And if you do it, it might hurt their pockets like 9/11 did. 9/11, some people said maybe they did it themselves. If it did, it hurt their pockets for 5-6 years, but then there was some benefits to it. They went to go to Iraq and they had an excuse to do it, right? So when you look at it from a certain angle, those things only work when you really when you understand the globalized world and the world from an economic angle, from a political angle, and from a metaphysical angle. None of the three are more important than the other. And if one of those three kind of overpower the other two, imbalance comes. If you understand it from a metaphysical world and you say it's only about the internal, don't care about the external, don't even think about what's going on over there or what leads up to stuff like that, you're part of the problem. If you just think, well, from an economic angle now, that's only about money, and if I get money, I could rise and it won't happen to me, you're part of the problem too. If you think from a political angle and you think either party really cares, and if you get into this two-party system, that because you got to understand, even when you say capitalism, socialism, and communism, the machine has already conned you. The machine is operating at such a high level where even people like Barack Obama, when people came in, when he got elected, some people thought it would change. How could it change his machine? You have all kind of conspiracy people say, well, maybe he's scared, he's gonna get assassinated, and maybe some people came up to him and said, hey, brother, you can't do this. Doesn't even have to work like that anymore. Trust me, every American president doesn't need the goons, the Jack Bauers, the Jason Bournes to threaten them. Every single person who has that chair knows if they cross a certain line, you know what happened to you. That type of power is worse because now they don't even have to step to you anymore. They could you just know what happened in the past and you know what could happen to you and you move on that, to be honest. So a cop knows, hey, why take a chance? I'll shoot any kid of color if I want to. I can get away with it. It's much harder to fix that because it's a program that's already implemented now, where you don't even have to situations don't even have to come to you anymore, and you just react because it's in your collective subconscious mind. That's worse. That's far worse. Where you understand, do I really want to go to war with Syria? Do I really want to go to war with Libya? I mean, you could make the argument, Iraq, Afghanistan, you kind of see why. Syria, Libya, especially Libya, not really, but the machine says it. We have a war-based economy, to be honest. So, got to go to war. We have a war-based economy. That's how we now, this is no longer 1943. We run the world because of our military machine. Pure and simple. It's so bad, logically, would World War III Russia make sense? Of course not. But by the machine's angle, hey, that might be the war of all wars. And since war is kind of like pay-per-view now, let's play with fire. When it operates like that, it's far worse than when it's personal. And this is what people are not understanding. It's far worse. So until you take the real red pill, and the red pill is business. It's not some business stuff where you try to integrate with someone's market. No, real business stuff where you take someone's market and make your own. To make your own, you got to do it on the ashes of the old market. It's business. It's action. It's intellectualism combined with metaphysics. It's not one or the other. You need all of them. And if you don't know how things operate, if you're still on this conspiracy stuff, if you don't know how to break down the different intelligence agencies, how to break down the different corporations, if you just, everything to you is just Illuminati, Anglo-European power structure, you're not getting it. We are in such, we are at such a point now where no one thinks anymore. If I'm right wing, I'm going to be anti-environment. I'm going to be probably, I may not say it, possibly, definitely anti-immigrant, probably anti-minority too, to some extent. And, you have different ones. Some of them might be pro-minority if the minority submits to them. And then some of them are just anti-minority, period. Depends. If I'm right-wing, I wouldn't care about global warming. I would say, well, the earth is doing it by itself, so who cares? If I'm left-wing, I don't care about family values. Even though a nation is only as good as the family structure. If you're left-wing, I kind of don't like religion. I kind of push this atheism on the low, to be honest, right? I kind of push this fake liberal multiculturalism where everyone has to be integrated, but I don't address the problems of cultures before I integrate them into myself. I don't allow them to address their own problems. I say integrate into me, and you bring your baggage to me. All these things, these is part of the problem. The fact that you could say socialism, communism, capitalism, right? And I could say, listen, all three of them have a place. Depends on the culture. It depends on the time period. Right now, with all this craziness, because that's another thing I didn't say with left wing versus right wing. If I'm left wing, I love government. If I'm right wing, I love corporations. Why can't you see both are poison? Both are poison. At the end of the day, why can't you see that? It's very obvious, right? But because you put the title, once the machine says you're right, you're left, right? Then you know it knows what behavior you're going to do. So if I say, listen, socialism, communism, capitalism all have their place, I ain't gonna lie, I don't trust any government at this point. Government to me is still worse than a corporation. Why? A government at the end of the day can make laws. They don't even have to pretend, to be honest. A corporation, because it's still money and financially based, you can reason with them to some extent if you just play their game, but play it not on the level that they want you to do. Play it on a higher level where you have the intentions of making your own system, right? That's how you do it. Not saying I want sovereignty, where they're still giving you something, but no, you actually strategically operating your dollars and your gold and your guns, right? Because, I mean, let's keep it real. Left wingers will say we need to have we need to take the guns off the streets. Well, when they take off the guns off the streets, the cops can do whatever the hell they want to you, and there's no repercussions. Let's keep it real. Guns has been something that's been part of life. And it's sad that if I say I'm pro-gun, that means a left winger will say I'm right-wing. Because why? We're a machine. They have people operating like machines. They understand that people will loot on Tuesday or Monday. And this Friday, those same individuals might be in Black Friday purchasing stuff. Do you not see what's the problem with that? I mean, it's obvious. Because it's not just a machine that runs you. In order for the machine to run the system, it has you operating like a machine. It knows exactly what will make you tick. And it calculates it, and it gives 3 or 4 different scenarios. Even if you pick one, they're ready. If you pick the other one, they're ready. And very rarely when you get a mind who can pick a scenario outside those 4 that they calculate. And that's the problem. If I say, listen, capitalism works now, right? We're in cronyism or corporatism, which is a big difference. Capitalism was first designed to be able to make it an even fight. You do the work, you win, right? Make it even. Somebody else born ahead of you, they still have to do some work. Is it functioning the way it's supposed to? Of course not. Why? Because it's still based on money, so that can be infiltrated by those who have more knowledge and those who started it first. Because even if I work just as hard as Bob, if Bob's family was doing it under the system 200 years before me, he got the advantage, to be honest. That's the difference. And the thing is, communism. Is communism just all evil boogeyman? Of course not. Communism works if the priesthood is running the show. If your government is aligned with spirituality and spiritual energy, real spirituality, not religion, yes, communism could work under that, under that banner. If your government, which every single country, I don't care what country you talk about now, is more material, that means no country should be communist at this point because it will never work. If a country is communist and they're material, then you got really just dictators at this level. So when you break these systems down, you don't do it from an emotional standpoint. When you break these systems down or anything that exists, a lot of times there's a reason for it to exist, and it has basically, if there's a reason for it to exist, it means it should exist. You just put it in its proper place. And at the end of the day, I don't think people are really doing that. At the end of the day, if black folks in America want to see change will never come from the system itself changing by itself. Change will never come from you integrating into the system and trying to change it, what I would say the mainstream way from changing. Change comes when you become a businessman, when you become a businesswoman. On a higher level, kind of mixed with a little bit of gangsterism. When you vote for the Democrats and they take you for granted, and then you don't vote for the Republicans, and they don't give a fuck about you, change doesn't happen to that way either. Change happens something similar, and just something simple as just make me an offer. Forget about the emotions. Make me an offer. And all of a sudden, people come to you totally different. When you say make me an offer on a global level, beyond just the Anglo-Saxon power structure, right? Because we live in a multipolar world now with many different powers. When you go, to your ancestral lands of Africa, invest there, but business as well. See what the Brazilians got to say. See what the Chinese got to say. Even see what the Russians got to say. Not saying go over there because Russia get a little racist, but business, hey, who knows? See what the Arabs got to say from a business angle. You come back here, the people here will treat you a lot differently. Because as a person of African descent who travels, it was sometimes annoyed the hell out of me when I would see an article telling me where black folks shouldn't travel, and I go there, I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? Or worse, you see someone with a black face in the country, and then people, because again, we have to kind of get back into some kind of intellectualism and some type of culturalism. Understand some kind of understanding where you look at things in a whole different light, and you say, well, if somebody has a black face, that country never had civil rights, right? The country never had civil rights. So if a country never has civil rights, there's gonna be some things that's gonna be PC that they will not have. So they might have a black face when they shouldn't have a black face. It doesn't mean I can't go to that country. It's crazy that I have to say this. I keep it real. Classism, very important. I keep it real. You might have some countries that may not deal with blacks from the third world, but from a business angle may deal with a black person from America, from a business angle. Should you mean you shouldn't do business with that person? You may not be able. You may say F it. I'm not gonna do business with that, and you're free to say that. But you should have a discussion if it comes to business, and then with business, put the condition that they have to change how they treat some of your people, who even if they're from a black person from an opposite culture. Because if somebody's making money, the minute somebody starts making money with you, real money, you can get them to change. Because if you say, you bait them, you make the money, you pull the cord when time comes. I know that's thinking like a grown-up. And I know people say, why I gotta have a passport? I don't care. Why I gotta go, why I gotta go here? Why I gotta do business here? Because once you do that, the power structure here will look at things a lot differently. And once they look at things a lot differently, they will change. Once that is implemented as something that you could do, when you threaten an economic boycott, they might change quicker. You complain against them, and you have no international cred. You know how they have street cred? You have no international cred. Where are you going to go? You want to fight them? You could on their land. It'll be a quick fight. I can tell you that right now. They actually prefer that. It'll be a quick fight. When you pull out and you spread your money with different places, including your ancestral home in Africa, things change very quickly. And you will see them change. Now, am I saying that, all white people are racist? I'm not even, you hardly even hear me mention a race. Of course not. What I'm saying is, what the real problem is that a lot of white folks in America don't understand the system itself and how it's built on layers. It's built on layers. So you got the people at the bottom, which is the immigrants and the descendants of slaves. And then you got people in the middle, which could be you could even say new money whites, but let's just say upper class whites, or even working class, middle class, and to some extent upper class whites, right? And what happens is the people in the middle think they're better than the people in the bottom. So because they think they're better than the people in the bottom, they don't really feel it necessary to change. Even if they may not be racist themselves, but it becomes a privilege thing, to be honest. So a lot of times, the people themselves don't really, even the people at the bottom, don't understand how this power structure of America is run. It's run on your energy. America, if you look at it currently, is based on three things, American power at this point. Overconfidence in the dollar, right? That's why you could have any currency that comes in. They could make promises. No currency ever supersedes the dollar. I even made predictions about other currencies. None of them came true because the dollar, people believe in its hype, and they will keep using the dollar, right? So you got the currency part, where the American dollar is like magic in itself. It's illusionary, but if you give it power, you got that. You got the military. And then you got entertainment, believe it or not. They use entertainment to push American superiority. And this is what I'm gonna say now. Some people look at entertainment as, well, okay, you have some entertainers, right, of color. Then you have some white entertainers, so the white entertainers might be bigger. What they don't understand, even if you say Justin Bieber, even if you say Katy Perry, even if you say Miley Cyrus, what happens? You can look at their styles and tell what energy influenced them. So if the black energy influenced them, you don't even need the person to be black to basically use that energy to then export that culture to the world and say that you're superior. The American culture as a whole. And even worse, if they invented like rock and roll, they could invent something, you could take it, and you could still use that energy, because rock and roll will still have that energy signature, and use it to go around the world and say and push the superiority of American culture. Even when they push Christianity, because Christianity is not American, it could go into, it started, Christianity as we know it started in Rome, but even Christianity is Egyptian energy, right? So this whole thing, even Masonry, the Moors or the Sufis created that to hold the knowledge for a certain level. Everything that you see was built on that energy. So if everything you see is built on that energy, you cannot, if you're dealing with the system, the people who created it have to be in the bottom, because they would then, even if they get to the middle, all of a sudden the whole system will have to change, because they will be able to tap into that energy quicker. And this is not getting into, I'm not doing this to get into who's superior. I'm just trying to get people to understand how the system works and how the game works. And if you don't know that, you can't even play the game, let alone win. If you go to emotionally, you will lose. If you even have responses they can calculate, you will lose. If I make this video and say this is to prove that a black woman is God, you will lose. All those things are calculated responses that they can have, that they know that you would have. The minute you come and say the Chinese, the Russians, the BRIC countries, Africa, investing in Hollywood, investing in real estate, investing in the young African entrepreneurs who need some startup money. The minute you do that and you say, make me an offer, motherfucker, the system will change. The minute you keep crying, or you keep threatening to go to war with someone who wants to go to war with you and they will annihilate you, you will lose. Hope that helps. Until next time, peace.